big shocked reactions all across the nation after the House Republican leadership, including Speaker Johnson, trying to personally interfere to stop the House ethics reports from coming out on Matt Gaetz possibly paying underage women to have intercourse with him while doing ecstasy and cocaine as a sitting congressman, and paying possibly dozens of other women. The report has finally been released after a bipartisan, full of Democrats and Republicans, House Ethics Committee voted to release the report against the House Speaker's objections. And I do want to say, what's interesting is that the House Speaker said that they would not try to stop it from coming out, and then immediately, within 72 hours after saying that, tried to get within the process, because it became known that he was going to be Donald Trump's pick for, Attorney General, even though he didn't have any big public experience, and he had just resigned from Congress the day before was going to be released, so it technically did not have to be released. But many in the public and many in office thought it would be of good knowledge for the public to know if the person who is the president of the United States was trying to make Attorney General, who has no experience as a judge, no experience in public office in the legal system, just a small record in the private sector, and, really has no legal record to speak of that would ask for him to become Attorney General, and is a possible sex pest, like finding out if he really is one. And so there was a call for this information to be brought to the public, while a million different, let's just say, PR men were sent out by the Republican Party to explain why it did not need to come out. And that's when Johnson turned on his previous statements and tried to interfere with it being released. But after Matt Gaetz basically found out he was not going to become the next Attorney General and pulled out of the race, then this report kind of fell out of the public highlight. It wasn't on everybody's mind. But now it's been released, and we can confirm that the report did find that Matt Gaetz did sleep with underage girls, and did ecstasy and cocaine while in Congress, as well as other sexual exploits using the website Seeking Arrangements, which is an escort service where you can enter in a region or area you're from and see a bunch of listings of different escorts, prostitutes, and others who would be willing to offer their services, and they'll, list money, list different things they'll do. And they use this website while influential politicians to set up parties where they would do these things and have the fun with the cocaine train. Let's listen to what CNN has to say about it.
The House Ethics Committee has released its final report into Matt Gatez, the former Florida congressman and President-elect Trump's first pick for Attorney General. The committee says it found evidence that Gatez paid a 17-year-old girl for sex and violated multiple Florida state laws. The panel also found evidence he used cocaine and ecstasy on multiple occasions while serving as a member of Congress. CNN's Caitlin Polantz has been digging through this report now that it's public. Caitlin, what are you finding?
Phil, that section about Matt Gatez and sex with the underage girl, that captures a lot of what the committee was looking into here. Just some of the facts that they were able to find, not only through documented evidence, but also interviews with more than half a dozen witnesses, including the victim, the girl or the woman who was 17 years old heading into her senior year of high school at the time. She told the committee with testimony that she had sex with Matt Gatez, then a sitting member of Congress, twice during a party in July of 2017, including at least once in the presence of other party attendees. She recalled
the piece of evidence that, since I heard it from the beginning of this investigation, because this is not a new thing, this is something that's been going on for years now, was the Venmo payments. Why Matt Gatez made these Venmo payments. And immediately once I heard that, I was like, Venmo payments, oh my God, it's true. Because people pay through Cash App and Venmo to prostitutes that they just met, and then they don't have cash on them because we're a cashless society. Like, damn, how am I going to pay this prostitute? And then they're like, I take Cash App, I take Venmo, I take whatever, I take PayPal. And then they go and they make the payments on these things, and boom, now you've got a monetary trail. Now you have a monetary trail. And right when I heard the Venmo payments, I was like, that's going to be the thing. That's going to be the hook. And that was the moment when I internally said, I think he did it. That was the moment when I said, I think he did it. It's very stupid, dude. When you want some, People don't think like that. People just think like, how can I get some? What's the quickest way to get to the end of this maze where there is the cheese? Or in this instance, for Matt Gatez, underage girl, disgustingly enough. But, you know, that was the piece of evidence that I think really, like, put the nail in the coffin for me years ago when I first heard it. I mean, of course, that wasn't the end of the investigation, but was the thing I was like, yeah, it's going to be hard for you to explain that away.
Receiving $400 in cash from Matt Gatez, which she understood to be payment for sex, and she had just completed her junior year of high school. The committee also
Junior year of high school. Look, I'm sorry, but how much of a fool do you have to be? I'm going to go vote for Donald Trump to bust the person who's been found liable for sexual assault, the person who has all these accusers against him personally, but excuse all that, put all that aside. We're going to go vote for this man to take on the deep state pedophiles, putting aside his personal friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, who he said was his good friend, but liked his kids on the younger side. I mean, not liked his women on the younger side, who knew what was going on with Jeffrey, was friends with Jeffrey, who is surrounded by other sex pests, nominates to take on the deep state pedophiles. Who would you pick as the main person to take on deep state pedophiles? He'd pick an attorney general. And who does he pick? He picks the dude who's currently under investigation. We already knew that this was all happening. We already knew that there was reports out there. This information was all semi-public, and he's the president of the United States. He can certainly get information about what's going on. He nominates the dude who's trying to sling it for pay with underage women while he's a public official. And they say, that's our guy we're going to choose to go take on the pedophiles, the ones trying to sleep with juniors in high school. You got fooled. You got played. I'm sorry. It happened again. You're getting the pedophiles to run out the pedophiles. It feels, there's a trend to this. Oh, we need to defeat neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Let's send Rusich and Russian neo-Nazis to go do that. Oh, we need to go defeat the pedophiles in the deep state. Let's go put more pedophiles in the deep state. I'm sorry. You got dangled. You got yanked again. You got your pockets snatched. Your sneakers yoinked off your feet. You're waking up in a daze. You're looking at your bank account. Somebody stole your information. You've been snatched. You've been snatched once again. So is his plan to have such a controversial cabinet that they get distracted from his own legal issues? I do kind of semi-think that he spammed all these bad picks at the same time to be like, they're just going to grab the worst of the worst. So like when the people come through that's just regularly repulsive, they'll be able to get through. Like, I thought, like, RFK would get shot down, like, immediately. The fact that I thought RFK would not last longer than Matt Gatez. I thought the vaccines and autism stuff would be, like, a killer. When he got into, like, the public hearings and stuff. But maybe not, because I saw that Donald Trump decided to come out with a statement on vaccines after winning, for whatever reason, who knows. That was not, let's just say, scientifically friendly. I don't know how to put it. Do I have it saved here? Here it is.
F. Kennedy. And to be our next Secretary of Health and Human Services, I decided, look, something's going on here. When you look at, like, autism from 25 years ago, and you look at it now, something's going on, and I nominated Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. Think of it. Think of this. 25 years ago, autism, 1 in 10,000 children. Today, it's 1 in 36 children. Is something wrong? I think so. And Robert and I and all, we're going to figure it out.
He's going to figure it out. He's going to get in the lab coat. He's going to take out the beakers. And Trump, he's going to look at those molecules. He's going to figure it out. He's going to figure it out. Man, he's gonna figure it out, guys. Don't worry. Trump will discover what he wasn't able to in his first 4 years, but in his next 4 years, he'll discover the connection that no one else was able to find. He'll be on the case. And don't worry, though. He's got RFK with him to help him. So certainly, this cannot go wrong. This can only end well. Positive implications all around. By the way, one last thing on Matt Gatez. Actually, we'll listen a little bit more to the details because there is really so much evidence. I do want to check out that old Tucker clip with Matt Gatez, where Matt Gatez tried to almost implicate Tucker. Not even tried to, like openly tried to implicate Tucker in the investigation.
At several other relationships that Gaetz had with women, not underage women, women who were adults at the time, but many of them told the committee that they did have an understanding that Gaetz was reimbursing them in some way for sex. So that led the committee to find that the congressman, while he was in Congress, was engaged in commercial sex, that would be prostitution, giving money to women, also statutory rape, that is the allegations related to the underage girl, and then also illicit drug use. The way the committee phrases it at the top of this report is that they determined there is substantial evidence that Representative Gaetz violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory rape, illicit drug use, impermissible gifts, special favors or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. This report is now out publicly. Matt Gatez had run to the court system this morning to try and block the release of the report, but the House has posted it online, as well as some of the evidence that they've gathered. And he, both in court and then also on X, has been saying repeatedly that these allegations are false and reminding.
Hey, can you guys try to figure out something for me? Because I'm just confused. Why do you think he tried to stop them from releasing this report? Why do you guys think Mike Johnson didn't want this report coming out about their attorney general nominee? Like, stuff like this, like, right off the bat would, like, kill previous administrations. But Trump has gone through so many scandals, and stuff like this is just like water off of a duck's back. It's not even his scandal. It's just Matt Gaetz' scandal. He's just done so much crazy shit that he's, like, broken... Like, he's just broken the public's ability to set off the alarms when stuff like this happens. Not to mention, it's it's immediately post-election. The, CNN's ratings right now is 77,000. They get numbers that sometimes I beat. And it's crazy to think about. And some of my contemporaries beat it regularly. Brian Tyan Cohen and others, they 100% beat it regularly. And that's because there's a lack of interest right now from the public in politics. And so not only is he regularly, maybe not corruption proof or scandal proof, but he almost gives the public so many mini scandals that it's like when you kind of, when you get a little bit of a disease in your system for your body to be able to process what it is, to be prepared against it. It's almost like he does that for the public when it comes to scandals. I mean, but stuff like this used to kill people right into their political career. My first cabinet pick is a pedophile. Okay, yeah, we're going after those deep state pedophiles. And my next one doesn't believe in vaccines. But it's just he's acclimatized the public to it, and it's immediately post-election. So it's a particularly numb period for public backlash.
People, he has not been charged with any crime.
That's Caitlin Polans for us. And to Caitlin's final point there, Gaetz has vehemently denied the allegations. He's called his behavior, quote, embarrassing, but not criminal. This morning, he reacted on X saying, quote, giving funds to someone you are dating that they didn't ask for and that isn't charged for sex is now prostitution, question mark, exclamation point, question mark.
And that's very funny. I love it every time when one of these guys get into a personal corruption scandal or personal misconduct scandal. And instead of them just owning up to it or them defending their behavior, they try to make it as if it's the people's issue. It'd be like if Bob Menendez immediately was okay, so now none of the public can get gold from Egypt? What if you, on a trip in Egypt, were to happen upon a sarcophagi, or multiple sarcophagi, if you will, and then you were to collect the gold, would you get in trouble, as I was, because I took gold from an Egyptian businessman over Egyptian state interest? Like, no, this is not a public scandal. This is a you scandal, okay? Not the American public is not having a problem with over-enforcement of them snorting cocaine, taking ecstasy, damn near candy flipping in Congress, and then sleeping with underage girls. That is not a working class Tom's big issue right now. His big issue was grocery store prices. His big issue was the price of gasoline or something like that, right? It was not making sure that your Congress people can bang underage girls.
There is a reason they did this to me in a Christmas Eve report, and not in a courtroom of any kind where I could present evidence and challenge witnesses. Joining me now, my excellent panel of reporters: Jasmine Wright of Notice, Semaphor's Dave Weigel, Hans Nichols of Axios, and Politico's Olivia Beavers. And Olivia, I want to start with you. You live in this world, and not necessarily the world described in the report, I don't think, but on Capitol Hill with Matt Gatez over the course of the last several years. This is now public. Yes. What does this mean going forward, I guess?
Well, I think, one, we're all wondering what this means for his career moving forward. A lot of Republicans believe he was eyeing a gubernatorial run when Ron DeSantis' term limited out. He floated himself for Marco Rubio's Senate seat that he's expected to vacate if he's confirmed into the incoming Trump administration. A lot of the contours of this report we had heard rumors and allegations of, but to see them in print, they're pretty damning. They say they found substantial.
Are you telling me that it would be? Could you imagine a Ron? No way. Okay, let's say it was. This probably would be Ron DeSantis moving on to something else. But Ron DeSantis versus Matt Gatez, you'd have a pretty well-known confirmed pedophile running against a man that Donald Trump accused of being a pedophile while on the primary campaign trail. You guys don't remember this, but during the start of like the Republican primary, when Ron DeSantis was still like semi-credible as an option to be president, Donald Trump said he slept with his students. He just like randomly threw that accusation out there, randomly insinuated that he slept with his students when he was a teacher. Just randomly, just throw that out there. And then it's like expecting to work with these people like 6 months later again when it comes to legislating. It's just crazy, just the way he goes balls to the wall. But from like a Trumpian perspective, if you're a Trump voter, like it's just, from your perspective, it would just be sex pest versus sex pest, no? If you were being a lore-accurate Trump voter. Oh my gosh, I gotta actually go out and investigate lore accurate versus non-lore accurate Trump voters. The ones who buy into the sauce versus the ones who don't buy into the sauce. I need to compare and develop types.
Substantial evidence of him sleeping with a 17.
Because I think that we could really develop like a good little booklet of like Trump sects. Different sects of the religion. Like we can figure out who the Trump Alawites are and who the Trump, Sufis are, the Sufi Trumps.
Year-old of him, going to these parties where women had been sort of recruited by one of his associates on seekingarrangements.com, where at the very least women were expected to be paid for companionship, but in other cases for sex. And so I think that you're seeing Gaetz already online trying to do some damage control. He's tweeting and trying to undermine what the committee found, and also just claimed that it was weaponized against him. Gaetz told me when I asked for his response this morning, these claims would be destroyed in court, which is why they were never made in any court against me. So I think you're just going to be seeing the beginning of this fight.
You know what sucks? This is not an ender for even Matt Gaetz' political career. He'll just run and say the deep state did it. The deep state made me look like I wanted to sleep with that underage girl. It's the deep state's fault. Mark Robinson tried it, and it was so embarrassing and so pathetic that it didn't work. But Matt Gatez, can seemingly at least try it. We saw what happened with the football player running in Georgia, Herschel Walker, and all the embarrassing nonsense that came out about him. A lot of it from his own son, Christian Walker, who is a devoted Republican. He was the guy who debated Hassan on his own show. About like trans issues and other stuff, and Hassan did not perform too well. But like from that debate. So Matt Gatez, I think he'll probably end up at some point running for public office again. In the meantime, He'll probably take cameo money. Maybe write a book, publish a book, do a podcast, do podcast appearances. Maybe go on Tucker Carlson's show to say, hey, the deep state went after me. They called me a pedophile, Tucker. Actually, I doubt Tucker Carlson's show. And the reason is because of this clip, because Tucker might have a little grudge against Matt for low-key trying to drag him into the Matt Gatez scandal when it first happened. Look at this. Bringing up a double date they had.
Again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times.
And this is right after the first wave of information about Matt Gatez came out.
Again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times. I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that the lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But
Again,
what do you mean? I don't know. Look, you know what the funny thing about this is? I wouldn't care if my congressman was doing ecstasy. Can I be honest? Okay, I wouldn't care. Cocaine, a little bit different. It always depends on amounts. Cocaine, I'd feel pretty uncomfortable. Maybe it would depend on amounts. Ecstasy, LSD, I wouldn't care. And honestly, if they hired a sex worker, I also wouldn't care. Because none of this has to do with legislating. None of this has to do with passing laws. And if all of it's consenting adults, then I usually don't care as long as it doesn't affect work performance, work stuff. The underage girl, no. And number two, the conservative tough guy act that he pulls out there, and the degenerate homosexual, the same nonsense that's getting spinned across the Republican Party. We're going to go in here, we're going to clean out, or the stuff that just like the hypocrisy of the basic, like, look at us, we're coming up to clean up the deep state pedophiles, they're all the Jeffrey Epstein, Democrats, and then you come in, and then you want to make this guy the top legal mind in the country. You make this guy Attorney General, this guy the chief law enforcement officer in the United States. You want to make him a diddler. You want a diddler as chief law enforcement officer. I'm not Team Diddler. Okay? That's all right. I'm drawing my line in the sand. I'm anti-diddling, and I do not believe we should make diddlers the top law enforcement officers in the country. I don't think that's a good thing, and I think if you voted for Trump because you thought he was going to go after the deep state pedophiles, congratulations, you're Team Deep State Pedophile. You want to recruit more pedophiles into the deep state. And it's like, I'm against chemical weapons in warfare, so we need to recruit chemical weapons to beat their chemical weapon. That's what you've just did. You're recruiting your pedophiles to beat their pedophiles. Our pedophiles are better than their pedophiles. That's the level that we're at this point. That's what it's going to get to. Well, at least our pedophiles went for America. You just watch it. It's just degenerated. It's either complete denial or, well, their pedophiles are worse. That's the level that it's gotten to. How about this? No pedophiles. No pedophiles. That's my
Burns
just
is
none
an
of them.
immoral,
Please, none of them.
Corrupt, bankrupt
Just
man.
pick some mustachioed cop. That's like, I don't know, the crime is bad. Just get anything. Just stop this. Stop. No. A convicted felon chooses Kitty Diddler to be the chief law enforcement officer in the United States. More at 7. Daily News. DD Shimi, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Appreciate it. 39 months. Damn. Been here for a bit.